I keep up to date with, among other things, mental health news. And the London South Bank University has got a department there that works with addictive behaviours. And one of the things that they've done is they did a survey to find out how people had responded, how their behavioural responses had changed because of the pandemic. And they discovered a thing called COVID-19 anxiety syndrome. Let me explain what it is. So let's say you're crossing the road. So let's say I come out of here at Contingent Works. Right behind me is the Glades. And I need to cross over the road. I'm able to make a valid judgment of risk. Oh, there's a bus. How fast is it going? I'll cross the road now. Or don't be a silly Billy, Robert. Walk 15 yards up to the lights. And while I'm doing this, I'm not being driven by fear. But that's not the case with a lot of people around coronavirus right now. So one of the reasons is because, to be fair, it's not easy to evaluate risk because of all of the information that's coming in and how it seems to contradict itself on a continuous basis. But having said that, we're making choices in a different way. So what they've discovered is that a big chunk of us, our behaviour is driven by anxiety. And the problem with that is that it doesn't tend to go away, it tends to form behaviours. And so these behaviours, essentially, they're three things. There's health anxiety, which was actually a big deal. It was a bigger deal, that I think, than people realised before the pandemic arrived, and of course it's grown now. There's agoraphobia. So if you go out there, you could get infected. It's a corollary of the health anxiety. And there is claustrophobia, in that people don't want to be in confined spaces. So 20% of people are avoiding public transport altogether. Personally, I've tried to avoid public transport altogether for my entire life, but this is actually because they're driven to it by anxiety of being in those spaces. And now, all of this is completely understandable. Okay, so if you're experiencing this, there's nothing wrong with you. But what the goal is today is for you to identify the level to which you're being driven by anxiety and whether your choices are helpful for you or not. Because you might realise that actually maybe I need to get out a little bit more, or maybe I need to be able to get a bus without being too concerned about it. And then there's another element which I've noticed. This is the recipe for trauma. So what trauma is, psychologically, it tends to be a view of a thing called PTSD, and this was identified after the Vietnam War. So if you were injured, if you were wounded in the Vietnam War, what they would do is extract you, and the way they do that is they'd get you and they'd strap you down into a stretcher to get you away from where it was all happening. And then you would be, I've seen these, and basically you're slid into what looks like a shelf, a rack, where the wounded were put, strapped into the helicopter. Now there's bullets and shells whistling everywhere. So you're living in a world of uncertainty and fear. You don't know, whether you're going to lose your leg, whether you're going to die. You don't know whether the helicopter's going to get off the ground, and you're helpless. And those three things, uncertainty, helplessness, and fear, lead to trauma. So there's all sorts of, that's classic trauma. There's all sorts of different levels to this, and what it means in the day for most people who experience traumatic experiences, and if you recognise all three of those things in the lockdown, you can't get away. There's something to be frightened of, and there's a hell of a load of uncertainty. And so if you think that your behaviour's changed between now and pre-pandemic, the thing to do is to look at One thing is the universe acting on you, or are you acting on the universe? Yeah. And how has that changed? So if you're going out meeting people, making their lives better before the pandemic, and you've held back from that, look at how you're going to get back into being re-engaged and reconnected, and look at how you can act on the rest of the world. Now, this becomes really difficult if you've had a hard time of it. Okay, so there is an awful lot of adversity about, and that adversity that elevates people's trauma. And so what happens is it becomes more difficult for them to do these things that actually are beneficial for them. So what we need to do is to approach it with two incredibly powerful tools. One is self-compassion and the other is compassion. Okay, and I'll tell you how they work. This state of the you acting on the universe or the universe acting on you, if the universe is acting on you and you feel helpless and you feel like you're not actually, you don't have the wherewithal, you don't have the spirit that you did previously, then start with yourself. And the reason you start with yourself is because the rest of the world's difficult to change. Okay, but I'll tell you how you can do that as well. And when you start with yourself, what you want to be able to do is to do those things for yourself that require the minimum of effort. And that's where you need to start, because when the universe is acting on you, everything becomes a trudge. It's like wading through chocolate. I've spoken to enough folks who are, traumatized and depressed and heard their stories to realize this. So when you start with something for you, start with something tiny. So here's an act of compassion. If you're someone who's anxious and suffering right now, and you've dialed into this or you've turned up today, that's your first act of compassion. It's a self-compassion. You're doing it for yourself. It's something that you're doing to improve your experience of life, your personal condition. Then what you need to do is small things for yourself. So I was speaking to somebody yesterday who told me that one of the things that they would do is always make sure that they, washed and brushed their hair as much as possible to have it looking as nice as possible. A small thing, but what happens? You're acting on the universe. You're changing your appearance. So there's a whole bundle of things that you can do, which are very small things. I wrote down a list, but I'm not very good at very good at doing planned training. So here you go. On my way in this morning, here's the things that I could have done. I could have stopped for a coffee. I could have gone to the fruit stall, found the nicest, juiciest piece of fruit for myself. I could have stopped for a moment, looked around myself, and breathed in the air. I could have, there's trees and plants on the way in. I could have grabbed one of those twigs in my hand, squeezed it, squeezed the leaf, smelt it, realized that every breath I take has been donated by the global family of living beings that are photosynthesizing what I breathe out back into oxygen for me. All of these tiny, tiny little things that we can do for ourselves also enable us to do things for other people. So when I said I could have had a cup of coffee, I actually did. And what I did is I went into Cafe Nero, and this is what I found. There's a little sign in there that says, "The whole world is short-staffed. Be kind to those that showed up." Right? So what you do is this. This is how we move from self-compassion to compassion. Everybody has to go out and in the course of the day interact with all sorts of people. There's shop assistants, there's bus drivers, there's all this kind of stuff. Okay. You can make their day. You can make their day by when they say, how are you? Most people go, or I'm fine, and you say, I'm fine, but how are you? And they stop what they're doing and they look up at you with shock in their eyes and the beginnings of a smile. And they say, oh, well, I'm okay, it's never-ending shifts and we're covering for a lot of people who've been pandemicked and da-da-da-da-da. What you've done is you've connected with another human being, and what you're doing is you're spreading the love, okay? And how does that make you feel? Yeah, that will lift your spirits. So these are the tiny things that we can do. And put it this way, imagine what would happen if everybody in the country did that for an entire day to everybody they met, okay? Or the level of anxiety and trauma would collapse in a single day, because what we're doing is we're connecting to each other and we're connecting ourselves. Okay, so the other thing that you can do is you can do compassion and gratitude meditation. And what compassion and gratitude meditation is, what we're doing is we're working with the positive emotions. And there's a few reasons. One is, ultimately, we want to be able to access them. I want to be able to elevate my mood. And like a lucky 10,000 hour meditator, I can do that, so I'm doing it right now. There's my mood elevated instantly. Joy, there it is. It's like a tap. You get there one turn at a time. That's one thing I want to do. The other thing I want to do is, it's a negative world, and what I want to do is rebalance it. I don't want a fluffy world. I couldn't have a fluffy world if I wanted, because there's negativity would come along. What I want is a balanced world. I want to experience the world the way it is. If there's suffering, I want to experience the suffering. If there's joy, I want to experience the joy. And I also want to experience the joy in the neutral present moment, which is why I want the neutral, balanced present moment, because I can extract the joy from it just by holding a leaf in my hand. Okay, and you can do it as well. But we can only do it one day at a time. We can only do it one meditation at a time. So the meditation that we're going to start off with today is the classic self-compassion meditation. And for those of you that haven't meditated, don't worry, just get yourself comfortable. We'll worry about posture some other time. Feet flat on the floor is a useful thing, and elbows by your side and head balanced comfortably. That's useful. There you go. Thanks, Matt. Glad you appreciate it. Matt thinks that's a great message. I think it's the only message. So what we're going to do is connect to the present moment. The way to connect to the present moment is by listening to the sound of the bell moving through time. Just the sound of the bell. Just stick with the sound of the bell. And then allow yourself to notice the breath. Notice the breath rising and falling. we're doing the same thing with the breath. What we're doing is noticing it moving through time. So if you notice the breath in the belly, you're able to notice the belly rising and the belly falling. Belly rising, belly falling. And of course the mind will kick in. And it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter whatever thoughts there are. This is how we learn to become familiar with thought. So this is the purpose of meditation, just to become familiar with thought. And because of that, there's no such thing as a bad meditation. What we're going to do is notice the out-breath. So all the in-breath becomes is something that brings us from one out-breath to another. Out-breath. 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 And we'll begin with the most popular of the compassion and self-compassion practices. Which is what I call the compassion meditation. And it just consists of 3 statements. May I be well. May I be happy. May I find peace of mind. And it's useful to repeat them on the out-breath. May I be well. May I be happy. May I find peace of mind. doesn't matter what happens in the mind. It doesn't matter how busy the mind gets. It doesn't matter if you get distracted. It doesn't matter if the mind wanders. You just come back to this mantra, as it's known. May I be well. May I be happy. May I find peace of mind. Whenever you're ready, in your very own time, return your attention to your surroundings. Okay, what I'll do is I'll explain how that works and how at the levels that it works at, and how all of the gratitude meditations work, and then we'll go on and we'll do some others. Okay, so first of all, it's a thing called a permission statement, and we need to have permission statements because we need to take away the tension and the pressure. So if you're finding it difficult to act, to do things to benefit yourself, generally there's a kind of logjam of desires and wants and needs and fears and anxieties, and so subsequently the end result is nothing, so nothing happens. And we also have a tendency in our culture to put others first and to do other things for other people all the time, and that's fine, but we need to be able to support others, and to do that we need to be fit and well and healthy. Quite apart from anything else, we need the strength to carry on to actually do those things. So what this is selfishness. It's the way to look at self-compassion. You're on an airplane and they tell you to if the cabin pressure drops and the oxygen masks fall down, that if you're responsible for somebody else, put your oxygen mask on first. And you need to do that because you're responsible for them, so you need to be able enough to put their mask on. If you try putting their mask on first and that turns out to be difficult and you run out of oxygen, that's it. So what we need to do is to put ourselves first, to put other people first. And because of the cultural and personal expectations, very often we get in the situation where we're just automatically get up in the morning, do things for others, go to bed at night, get up in the morning, do things for others. And then we run out of the ability to continue doing that. So what we need to do is to readjust the way that we perceive our relationship with others to one where we look after ourselves so that we can look after them. and that we need to break the cultural and the personal belief that our life is we're an empty shell that provides for others, and when we're not. Yeah. And the stronger you are, in yourself, the more you act on the universe, the more they will as well. People often ask me, they say, what can I do to help my family? And I always, there's only one answer: help yourself. Yeah. So, my son or daughter's lost their way, or whatever it happens to be. What do I do? Remember that they've never taken a single notice of anything you've said up to now. That's the first thing. Then realise that if you change completely, not only will you have the wherewithal to support them if they need it, if they hit some sort of rock bottom, but as well as that, you will then become their model for change. So the people have to believe change can happen. So if you can change, they can change. They need to see this. And that's all you can do. That's it. I mean, obviously you do the things that you do anyway to help them out, but that's it. That's as far as you can go with a family, is to help yourself, is to be the best you that you can be. And so to do that message is a very powerful foundation to build it on, as is the concept of self-compassion, which is to one hand for you. Well, my dad was a seaman for 30 years. One hand for yourself, one hand for the ship. Because if you let go, you're overboard, and not only is the ship in trouble, you're in trouble as well. Okay. So that's one level it works at. Another level it works at is it's a mindfulness meditation. It's what's known as a focused attention. You're focusing on the sound of your inner dialogue. Yeah. And your mind wanders, and then you bring your attention back to the inner dialogue. Mind wanders, inner dialogue. That's mindfulness meditation. All mindfulness is noticing your mind's wandered. That's it. If you notice your mind's wandered, that's mindfulness. Mindfulness isn't waking up in the morning with a silent mind, feeling ultra creative, floating through the day, giving love to everybody. It's just that, and it's very interesting the way that some so-called mindfulness teachers give the impression that that's what their life consists of. No, you're just noticing your mind's wandered. Yeah. They notice their mind's wandered as well. So that's how we train ourselves, by our mind wandering. Dush, 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 pendulum effect. So that's two levels at which this powerful meditation works. The other one is for many people, a busy mind is the inner dialogue, chatter, chatter, chatter. So busy mind people who have an inner dialogue will have noticed one of two things. Either when they speak the words, they're using their inner voice, so it shuts up. Or, and this is very common, is that here's the inner voice: may I be well, may I be happy, may I find peace of mind. And while you're saying that, this other voice is going, yeah, you've got to do this thing, go to this place, see this, then this is going to happen, then that's going to happen. Very simple. What you do is you use that voice. May I be well, may I be happy, may I find peace of mind. And of course another one starts up and it starts going, may I be well, and you steal that one. You can hijack the inner voice one more time than it can pop up. Try that. So that's three levels. Then, as well as that, what this does is eventually maybe not necessarily eventually, quite often, pretty soon, it helps you to elevate your mood. And one way that will work is if your mood is bad, you'll notice that it neutralizes it. Yeah. So if you've got low mood, you'll notice that your mood becomes more neutral. So it becomes less low. And then at some point, you'll actually notice that you're able to elevate your mood. But this all takes practice, and one of the things that's happening while you're doing this is you're noticing how you're feeling, because mindfulness is an internal, inward-looking experience initially, and then it's an outward-looking experience afterwards. But the inward-looking experience is you become aware of how you feel, and then because you're creating a positive emotion that helps to balance the difficult emotions, so subsequently you're actually able to notice uncomfortable emotions and get used to them. Familiarity and getting familiar, getting comfortable with the mind. And I could go on. This is huge. It's a life-changing thing. Okay, so then we've got, we're going to run on to another couple of gratitude meditations. And all gratitude meditation is meditations, or maybe only one, is a meditation that works with the positive emotions. And it has a lot of these elements that I've just described to it. So it's a mindfulness meditation. You're working with your inner dialogue. You're becoming familiar with the mind. You're elevating your mood. You're neutralizing uncomfortable moods and growing your mindfulness and your self-compassion and your compassion and gratitude. Okay, so some people find the word gratitude difficult because it's got religious connotations. So there's a great meditation teacher whose name is unpronounceable, but he wrote a book called The Restful Mind. It's probably the best way for you to find him. And in it is this meditation. So what we'll do this is Gyalwa Dokampa's appreciation meditation. It's a very powerful thing. You just want to get yourselves comfortable. And again, notice the sound of the bell moving through time. Allowing yourself to notice the movement of the belly. This is the softest and easiest way into meditation. It's just to notice the belly rising and falling. And through most meditations, including these, maintaining a level of awareness of the movement of the belly or the breath in the nostrils, whichever is best for you, is helpful. And bring to mind your health. And many of us, I'm aware, have health challenges, and you know exactly what they are, so you don't need to bring them to your mind. Instead, bring to mind, let's say, a couple of elements that I'm aware that most of the people that are listening in will have to their experience of life. There's the gift of mobility, and although we don't all have it, almost everybody does to a greater or lesser extent. So the gift of mobility enables you to visit people, to get around in the world, to connect, to function, to do the things that you need to do that benefit you. And there's the gift of communication, which is a two-way thing. You're able to communicate your ideas to others, and you're able to receive the ideas of others. So there's an interchange of the mind with other people through communication. So you have the gift of mobility, the gift of communication. And then bring to mind those people that you're close to. And so that could be your family, it could be your friends, it could be your partner, it could be neighbours, it could be colleagues, whoever you perceive to be the people that you're close to. And people can be challenging in the same way that health can be challenging, and so you've got a list and we don't need to revisit it. Instead, what we can notice is that there are some people with whom our connection is fulfilling all the time, and even with some of the difficult people some of the time. And we can also notice that the most challenging interactions can have a silver lining in that we can learn from them. We learn about ourselves, we learn to become resilient. We learn the tools that we can use to cope with the difficulty. And we can use these tools to help us grow. So from people that are close to us, there's fulfilling interactions, there's learning, and there's connection. And then our lifestyle. And I'm aware that many of my students barely have a moment to themselves. So bring your mind to those moments. So one of the things that you're able to do for yourself, for example, is to tune into this meditation class or come along in person. I'm aware that for some of you that might be it for the week. But as well as that, there's also tiny moments that you can get to yourself. When you're going for a walk, there's an opportunity to reconnect, even if you're just going to the shops. You can become aware of where you are and what you're doing and the people around you, and connect to the buzz of life. Be aware that you're in nature, look around, see the plants, the trees, the sky, the sun, the clouds, and the rain. And notice that it's an opportunity to connect with nature. And then there'll be things that you're able to do for yourself in your week, time you have for yourself. And notice that. Notice how all of these benefits make you feel. All of these people that are fulfilling or learning experiences that help you to grow. All of these gifts that you have for communication or mobility or other gifts that you never bring your mind to. And then that time that you have in your day, notice these, notice the feeling that they bring. And then bring to mind the wider community, the nameless, faceless individuals all going about their day jobs, the bus drivers and railway staff and shop workers and delivery drivers, all providing for themselves and their family, all working together to keep humanity going. And notice the support that you get, which is very easy to forget, from all these people who've dedicated their lives to the well-being of others. This huge network of caregivers, health providers, people that gain their fulfillment from helping others. And notice that, and notice how that feels. And hold that in your mind. So there's the physical gifts of your health that we very rarely consider. There's the fulfillment and learning from others that we're close to, that often gets overlooked. There's the time that you have to spend for all of the things that you do for yourself that can just become part of the autopilot day and be forgotten about. Notice it all, notice how it feels. And there's a network of support that we all have from supporting, caring people. And notice all of that. Notice how it feels, and just allow yourself to feel that. And what we're doing here is we're learning to appreciate what we already have. Which is the most powerful step on the voyage of compassion. What we'll do is move straight into another meditation. And in this meditation, the gratitude meditation taught at the London Buddhist Centre largely, slightly tweaked I think. And we begin it by bringing to mind whichever being it is that brings us the most joy and fulfillment. So I say being because for some of us it's a fellow creature, one of our pets. For some of us it's a friend or a member of our family or someone that we connect with. Who we connect with isn't dictated by our genes, it's dictated by our experience. So whoever we connect with most, and whoever is most fulfilling and joyful to connect with, bring that person, that being to mind, and hold them in mind. and say in your mind, may they be well, may they be happy, may they find peace of mind, may they be well, may they be happy, may they find peace of mind. And now bring to mind a neutral person. And what a neutral person is just somebody whose name you don't know, but who you can bring to mind. And you don't know them well enough to have decided whether you like them or not. So this could be a shop assistant, a neighbour that you see in the street, a colleague you see around, a regular bus driver, somebody at the railway station, whoever. There's an image of this person and you don't know them well enough to know whether you like them or not. And so you hold them in mind and say in your mind, may they be well, may they be happy, may they find peace of mind. May they be well, may they be happy, may they find peace of mind. And now bring to mind a difficult person, not your arch enemy, but somebody who's been thoughtless or inconsiderate or unhelpful. And then you hold them in mind and say in your mind, may they be well, may they be happy, may they find peace of mind. May they be well, may they be happy, may they find peace of mind. And then bring yourself to mind, whatever your image of yourself is, however you perceive yourself to be. And repeat in your mind, may I be well, may I be happy, may I find peace of mind. May I be well, May I be happy. May I find peace of mind. And again, the good person, as it's known, which is the being that brings us fulfillment or joy. Hold them in mind. May they be well. May they be happy. May they find peace of mind. May they be well. May they be happy. May they find peace of mind. And noticing the belly rising and falling. The movement through time. And whenever you're ready, gently return your attention to your surroundings.